So for this video, I'm going to be doing a review of A Serbian Film. That really amazing movie. Ugh, yeah. Before I get started, just a big fat warning, trigger warning, for literally everything terrible under the sun. So if you don't want to hear about the worst things imaginable, probably skip this review, because I'm going to get a little bit descriptive, so. Might as well get started with the synopsis so that I can get this over with. Then I'll talk about the actual background of the film, which is vastly more interesting than the actual film. Okay, so to start off, the movie starts with this couple, and they're, in a porn video, but it turns out that this video is being watched by this 5 or 6 year old, and it gets worse because it turns out that this, kid is the son of the guy in the porn movie. So he's watching his father's porn movie, and his parents come in, and they seem very blasé about the fact that his son was watching his father's porn video. But when you watch later in the movie, the woman is the woman, his wife, I think it's his wife and the porn star are in bed together, and they're just sitting there relaxing. I guess she's doing work, and he's sitting there watching another one of his porn movies, so I guess that's literally the only entertainment they have in their house. So that's how they start the movie off. And then he is approached by this woman from his past, and she wants him to meet with his director, who wants to make a movie with him, because apparently he's a god in the porn community. He continually talk about how virile he is. He keeps every time he does the porn video, he is it can go on forever. I guess it's kind of stupid, but yeah, they're obsessed with him, and apparently he doesn't have any job to support his family. It doesn't really, I unless I missed it, it doesn't say he has any work anywhere. I think he mentions he makes other porn films, but I guess that's the only thing he can literally do, because when they give him this proposition, because it's a lot of money, he decides to do it. So apparently he can do nothing else in the world, so that he has to agree to do this porn video. What makes it worse, they won't tell him what's going to be in the porn video. They just know the director is making this movie for some rich fuckers. And so that doesn't automatically raise red flags, but of course this dumb motherfucker decides to do it. And so the movie, the video starts with Tame, for this movie at least. They're in, I think, this school, and this, teacher is yelling at this girl. And then, it kind of, it's going to get creepier from there, and it does. Then, the next scene, he is getting a blowjob, and then they start showing video of children while he's doing it. And, of course, he gets uncomfortable, but the dumb motherfucker still stays there. And, eventually, they end up bringing in actual children while he's getting a blowjob, and he starts becoming physically violent with his partner, and so it kind of snowballs from there. So yeah, so the next scene, kind of, I'm kind of abbreviating quite a lot because these scenes take forever. These scenes, these grotesque scenes take just for 5 minutes, it seems like, for no reason at all. So so we then get the climax of the film, and once again, trigger warning, because this is the worst part. He goes to confront the director. He says he doesn't want to do these films anymore, they're creepy. Director kind of goes on this rant about You know, essentially, it's something about victims. It's completely stupid. I can't with it. So yeah, and I guess he pulls out all the stops. I don't know if this was supposed to convince him or something like that. He puts in a video, and the video is of a woman giving birth, and then a man fucks the newborn. So that's the worst part of the film. Yeah, it was about as bad as you'd think. And this is where it starts getting hazy, because I think the next scene, he wakes up. It's been 3 days and he doesn't remember what's happened. He's covered in blood. So he looks around the room. He finds some tapes. He finds a camera, and so he takes them all and leaves. And he's sitting there in the woods watching it, and it's, you know, just grotesque things as usual, like bestiality. And so he starts kind of retracing his steps, trying to figure out, you know, remember what happened. And this, I believe they give him a drug. I'm not sure when they did it. I'm not sure if it's like right after he tried to leave. But they give him a drug, and it kind of, I guess you could say, it turns him to like a sex fiend. At least that's how I interpreted it. Because he becomes like an insatiable monster who seems to not realize, you know, what he's doing. And so I think they're telling the story through the videotapes. They just switch back and forth. But we see him, once again, one of the worst parts of the movies. He's having sex with this woman, and then he cuts her head off while he's having sex with her. And then, I think some other stuff happens, but eventually, I think they try to imply that they're wanting them to have sex with a child because there's a girl there and everything like that. He ends up escaping. And that's kind of the you know, really another big issue I have with, you know, this movie is just his focus on children. It's so fucking creepy. The director, I forgot to mention this. He had his cop friend investigate the director, and it turns out that he was a psychologist that worked with children, which makes it creepier. And I guess it doesn't really say anything that happened. It just says that he pretty much, a cop friend says that he's clean, which, yeah, something else I forgot to mention, which happens odd. One of the children that he brings into the film is actually his daughter, and so he tries to spin it as acceptable because it's actually his daughter. He also tries to say that everyone in the videos consent to this, which they don't, because they actually have children, so they can't consent. So yeah, this creepy motherfucker. But anyway, go back to the post necrophilia. So yeah, he ends up escaping eventually. Unfortunately, he gets caught again, and so they take him to this warehouse where there's two people that are bound and hooded, and there's this other guy there as well. He's also hooded, and they both start raping these people. Well, eventually the guy takes his hood off. It turns out that it's the creepy cop friend who had this weird obsession with his the porn star's wife. So this is happening, and they're armed guards there to prevent them from actually leaving. Well, there was a distraction, and the porn star gets a gun and kills pretty much all the guards. The wife, I believe, rips the cop friend's throat out with her teeth, if I recall correctly. I think there's also the porn star killing a dude with his dick by shoving it down his throat. That could be misremembering. But yeah, eventually, because I'm not sure if he's conscious of what he's doing, he punches the wife, knocks her out, and locks her up into his closet. And he ends up passing out, and that's where that he wakes up 3 days missing. Well, he remembers, of course, that about his wife, and turns out, he goes and frees her from the closet, her and his son. And so I didn't want to think about those implications, so I wasn't going to try to confirm it by going and trying to go to Wikipedia and refresh my memory. But long story short, he kills himself and his wife and child. Then the big shocker pans out, and there's someone recording this, and there's those two rich fuckers from the beginning of the movie. So, this entire, event was a movie being made for these rich fuckers. So that's the, the terrible synopsis for this movie. But like I said, the most interesting part of this movie was the backstory of it and the reception of it. And I have notes, so if you see me reading, because there's just so much crap from the director and writer about this movie, so I can't remember it all, so I might have to read some. So apparently, the writer took inspiration for making this dude a porn star from this porn star in like the 90s, I believe. His name was Rako Safirdi. He made brutal porn movies with local girls in mostly marginalized and poor post-communist Eastern European countries. So obviously, terrible person to base your main character off of, I guess. The writer, ironically, because I was thinking this as well, brought up Marquez de Sade. He's French. I think I said the name right, but he is the writer for 120 Days of Sodom, because yes, that was a book before it was the movie. And something I did not know, it was made in the 1700s, so this was a really early book. I did not know that. He was the author, Marquez de Sade, was accused of a lot of sex crimes, and the word sadism actually comes from his name, so that really should tell you how fucked up this individual was. But yeah, going into the writer and the director, and I can't remember which said which, but pretty much they say the same thing, but they go into why they made this movie. And so the writer, he goes on this rant about how the EU, the European Union, only finances media that pushes its message, essentially making victim porn out of Serbia, what happened in Serbia. The writer and director said the movie was a parody of modern Serbian-made politically correct films that were financed by Foreign Art Council funds. That Serbia and their modern films were boring, predictable, unintentionally funny, which was supposed to be parodied in this movie, but I don't know how the hell that was supposed to be funny, unintentionally funny. He continues to go off about Serbian films and how, they don't care about quality anymore, which, yeah, this piece of crap is not quality, so I don't know what the hell he's going on about. He denounces fascism of political correctness, says the violence in the movie isn't actually connected to the crimes committed by Serbian soldiers during the Yugoslav War, but instead metaphorically deals with the post-war society and the exploitations of men trying to secure the family financially. So I'm assuming he's talking about, at least in the film, the guy's struggling financially, and so they tried to exploit it by offering him money. And once again, does this guy not know how to do anything else, literally anything else that could help support his family that doesn't involve making creepy movies for rich fucks? Because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about what happened in Serbia in the 90s, so maybe I'm missing something. So he claims the director in the film is a metaphor for the new European film order, because in Eastern Europe you can't get your film financed unless you engage in engage in victim porn. And he says that the Western world has lost feelings, so they search for false ones and want to buy feelings. So I took that to mean he's saying that the West is losing feelings, so they have to watch this victim porn to get them back, which, going off about, political correctness and, these guys sound so fucking stupid because he's literally making this movie that, is exploiting victim porn or, relying on this most grotesque things imaginable to draw attention to the movie. So it kind of feels very counterintuitive for me. He said the movie was a diary of the Serbian people's molestation by the Serbian government, about monolithic power of leaders who hypnotize you to do things you don't want to do. So so that was they went on so much like rants that you should probably go to Wikipedia, because they actually have a link to the articles. About the articles where the directors talk about the movie. So and fun fact, this movie actually was filmed over a period of 10 years, which actually makes sense because it looked like it was fucking made in the 90s, and I was kind of confused when I learned it was in 2020 or 2010. So it was filmed over 10 years, so it kind of explains that. Some of the criticisms that I liked, because it actually voices kind of my thoughts on the film as well. So Alison Wellmore, she's a blogger for IFC website. She says this comes from a country that spends decades in violence and corruptions. What might make it seem tempting to read more into the film than there is. And I completely agree. They will make these films that they'll make these films that makes it seem like they're really deep and intellectual, because the time period that they were filmed in, or the time period they were referencing, were, there's a lot of conflict and everything, and we tend to give more weight to films like that, I feel. And so I'm sure there are probably people that fall into that trap of, oh, well, it happened during this time period where there's this lot of political strife, so, this is obviously intellectually, superior, I guess. I don't know. BBC Radio 5 Live's Mark Kermode mentions that if there was an allegory for the Serbian family and Serbian politics, it was completely overshadowed by the violence in the movie, and I completely agree with that. If you're going to try to make this political commentary movie or bring awareness to something, you don't want to put the worst things imaginable in the film that people are going to focus on and overshadow any commentary you might have. So, completely agree with that as well. And the same critic made me laugh because he said that this and Fred the movies were his worst viewing experience of the years. So I kind of laughed at that, because just hearing a Serbian film and the Freddy movies in the same sentence kind of threw me. There's another one, and he kind of goes, he's a lot more brutal. Callum Waddell of Total Sci-Fi says that the film is not about politics, because if you want to know about Serbian politics, you don't watch a film where a man fucks a baby. And he goes off even further and says the director will go to the grave knowing he filmed that, and that no matter the money or the fame, the critic himself would never want that on his conscience. And says good luck to him in regaining some humanity. So he went off on him. And then Total Film says that it works best as a reflection of modern day porn obsession with masochism and humiliation. That, I would definitely agree, is probably the best interpretation of the movie without knowing any of the background, because it's about porn and just really brutal masochism. So I feel like that was the best interpretation of the film without knowing anything with the background. And then, final critic. And I think this is the most interesting one because this is actually a Serbian actor and director. And he has more connections to this than I'm assuming the other critics do. And so he goes off on the director as well. And he says, I can't really say the guy's name because I can't pronounce it. His first name is Dragon, I think. But go to Wikipedia and you can find his name. And so he went on the rant saying that the director's daddy got rich in the 90s in Serbia, and his father made money from the Serbian people. The director then got sent abroad to get his education paid for by his daddy. And then he came back to Serbia to make a film about the point of view of the country using the money that his daddy gave him, which actually explains why he was able to finance this movie, because he kept talking about how he couldn't get finance for movies. So I was wondering how he got finance for this movie. That would explain that. And then he goes on about how the second generation comes back to the country and uses the money that was robbed from the people of Serbia, smears the very same people by portraying them as the worst scum of the earth. And so he goes off on it. And he also says that if he ever meets this director, then it wouldn't be a pleasant meeting. It's like, it was brutal, let's just say that. And yeah, just like, this film was just, it's one of those movies that if the director really thought he was making art, he really does view art as just the grotesque things imaginable. He views art as doing shit, the worst shit imaginable, that nobody else would do. And that's what he views art as. It's kind of fucked up, to be honest. It reminds me of the, comedians who will say the most racist, homophobic, transphobic, etc. shit, and then claim it's, just comedy, and if you don't like it, then comedy's dead. You just use that comedy as a cover to be a terrible person. You just use these films as a cover to do the most fucked up shit. And yeah, final thoughts. It's about as intellectual as the Human Centipede. I kind of put it in that category. Because just like the Human Centipede, it's like one of those concepts that are specifically supposed to be the growth thing imaginable. You're supposed to want to watch it because of that growth factor. So, yeah, so that was my rambling thoughts because, yeah, I didn't want to have to go refresh my memory on this movie. I was already depressed, so I didn't want to worsen that, so I didn't go to like refresh my memory of the movie, so I just went based on memory. So yeah, I guess you could say it's one of my worst movies of all time. One of my worst movies this year, definitely. No value whatsoever. So, and I think this was actually the only movie that your director did, which is kind of telling that this is the one he's decided to, put out there. And there's actually, I think there's a making of the Serbian film, but I could not for the life of me find that. I couldn't find a physical copy. I could not see anywhere that they streamed it. I couldn't even get the full video on YouTube. I think there might be clips, but I wanted the full video. But anyways, so yeah, that was my review of A Serbian Film. So if you the stomach staying through to the end, I hope you guys stick around and subscribe to my videos to get more content that I'll be doing. Hopefully putting out more coming up. So So, other than that, you guys have a nice day. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.